So believe me when I say this, but this is the first chance I've had to make a video in the last 3 weeks, but what a 3 weeks it's been. I've not long just come back from Las Vegas, which is a place I used to live, funnily enough, having gone to EVO 2024, as while not many people know this about me, and certainly those who watch me for Final Fantasy and RPG content, but I'm a huge fighting game fanatic, and so to be at this particular event was magical. So let me take you through what the event was all about, and I'm actually going to finish a drawing off that I started while I was there, while I talk about it. So if you want to see more of this Akuma drawing and my recap of EVO 2024 and the reasons why it was so impactful to me, not only as a creator, but as a person, stay tuned and keep on watching. So as I said, I just want to say thank you first of all for actually sitting and chilling and watching with me, as this is going to be quite a personal video. You thought that my Final Fantasy XIV FanFest video was personal and I couldn't get through it without sobbing. This was different. I'm glad I've had a couple of days to kind of chill since the event, because I actually stayed behind in Vegas after EVO had finished, and I'm glad that I did, because I was a mess. There was not a day that went by through this entire adventure where I wasn't just tears of happiness, because I felt like I was really finding myself again, and it was a big deal. But let me just take you through what the trip actually was. So I actually didn't start in Vegas. I went to go and visit my friend Joesephyr, who, if you're familiar with fighting games, you may know that name, as he was the guy who wrote the guide on footsies and neutral game and things like that, and we've known each other for a really long time, and I went to go and stay with him in Arizona beforehand for a week, and it was really nice because we've known each other for a really long time through Final Fantasy from my side and fighting games from his. So to spend time with a friend I felt like I'd known for years, or had known for years but never met in person, was truly just wonderful, and it really recaptured that sense with competitive gaming, where you have that moment where you've got an event you're going to together, you spend ages, you stay up all night just to sort of play as much as you can, and we were playing a lot of Tekken at the time, and it was just fantastic. We went and got lunches, I sat and drew quite a lot. I started this drawing, and I've actually got a couple more in here that I started while I was in Arizona and Vegas. It was mostly just a big training montage, but it was really meaningful to me, as it reminded me of my old trading card days and when I used to play in fighting game championships many, many years ago, before I ever was a content creator. And it was just a real reminder of who I used to be and who I could be again. So before anything else, I do want to just extend a massive shout out and a thank you to Juicebox just for being a good friend. We had such a wonderful time. I actually said at the end of my stay in Arizona that I could have gone home there and then, and I would have been happy with having done so. And I meant every word of it. But, of course, I was there because I wanted to go to EVO. I was very happy with my time in Arizona, but that following Thursday, we took a road trip up to Vegas, and that was wonderful in and of itself. I've done American road trips before, back from when I used to work in Vegas. And we went to Texas, and there's stories that come with that maybe I'll save for another day. But we had a lovely time, really simple, nice, easy journey. And we got there, we got to the place we were staying at, and then we went to go and do badge pickup, and it was all kind of standard fare for any kind of con-style event. So at that point, it hadn't really hit me that I was going to EVO. And bizarrely, despite the fact that I used to work in Vegas many years ago, I'd never actually been before, and let me tell you, when I say that this event was special, it really was. If you've watched the highlights of EVO, you already know that this was a damn good one to go to, but for me, it was hitting me in the feels before I'd even walked in the door. So the Friday comes around and we get to EVO, and obviously I have my pool. So I entered 3 games for EVO this year. I entered Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising. Now, one of the things that's always been a problem for me with fighting games is that I have no local scene for fighters, at all. And in order for me to want to play regularly, I have to travel up to London, which gets very expensive very quickly. So I've always kind of resigned myself to the idea that there's no point me investing too heavily in fighting games because I just don't have anybody to play with. And when I've previously done them on stream or as videos or anything like that, they've never performed nearly as well as when I've done RPG-based content, because that's something that people tend to know me for. However, I didn't do too badly, to be honest. I was kind of expecting to go 0-2 in every game, and I actually didn't. I went 3-2 in Street Fighter 6, which I was very, very pleased about. I went 2-2 in Tekken, which, given that I'd done quite a lot of practice for Tekken, I was a little sad about, not gonna lie. And then I went 1-2 in Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with that, because I hadn't practiced really. I still haven't figured out who I'm maining in Grand Blue versus Rising. But all things considered, it kind of showed that, hey, maybe I can still play my fighters. Maybe I do still know what I'm doing. And with the tuition and stuff I'd gotten already, and with just being around that electricity, that energy of people who are just there for a common reason, and people were really sweet as well. You know, this is just from the pools as well. You know, we haven't even gotten into the full event and the con version of it all as well. People were really kind. People saw me drawing a lot, which people had seen from like various events previously. I met up with some of you guys as well, so big shout outs to Sonic Kurosaki, Rossum, and you know, some of the other people that I'd known for decades previously that I hadn't seen in many years. It was just a real reawakening for me, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. Of course, I did spend a lot of time at the Artist Alley area, because I would quite like to try my hand at doing something like this myself, and I got a lot of advice from other artists, because I've never done anything like that before. As a matter of fact, like, art in my content is something that's very, very new to me, but it's something I want to explore a lot further, and it's really another step in me returning to myself. And EVO's unlocked so much of that in so many ways that I'm extremely grateful for it. But we got to the end of the Friday, we'd been round all the cons, we had a go at the new Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, and that actually was really cool. SNK doesn't have a huge presence in the UK, at least certainly not that I'm aware of. But I'd like to support SNK more. I'd love to do more characters and games, like from that, like drawing the characters, playing the games on stream and what have you. I actually, in fact, I can quickly show you. I did this my drawing while I was in the queue to play Fatal Fury, and some of the SNK devs came up and they were asking me loads of questions about it, and I was getting my life, because I'm like, these guys designed King of Fighters. This is very, very cool. But so I managed to get kind of my foot in the door in a really unorthodox way, and because there's no reps for SNK in the UK, again, that I'm aware of, I believe they use agencies and stuff over here, I would love to be able to support SNK more in the UK, because they make good games, and I'd like to see more of Fatal Fury, like, certainly. And we actually saw, I believe that there is a, in this video here, which is from EVO itself, where people were, there was a exhibition tournament for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, and it was really fun to watch, and seeing sort of UK representation from like King J and stuff like that, all really cool stuff. So day one was already a win. Day two, however, was where it really started to hit home. So day two comes around, and of course I haven't gotten out of pools in any of the games that I've played, but to be honest with you, it wasn't the main reason that I wanted to go. And as you can see from up here, there were loads of really cool cosplays to look at as well, which was amazing. But I will also say I may have made a slightly shady tweet that morning where I was holding up very clearly my bottle of Jean Paul Gaultier cologne, because the smell was a topic of discussion when it came to EVO from the first day. Now, I will say, not everyone was bad, really. I think that for every person that seemed like they didn't really know what a shower was, there was another person that I probably would have climbed like a tree if given the opportunity. So we take the rough with the smooth on that front. But again, the majority of my day on the Saturday, on the second day, was watching other people playing, finding people that I could just play some casuals with. Actually, one person that I did spend some time with, and this is somebody that those of you who remember me from the Dissidia Final Fantasy Operalia days will know, that my friend Joshua was there, who I used to work with when I worked at Square Enix, and we had some lovely time just chilling out playing Street Fighter, because we've known each other for a long time, we've played online a lot, and this is the first time that we'd ever gotten to meet in person, because we live on opposite sides of the planet. So that was really, really lovely, just to kind of catch up and talk, and kind of reminisce about like how things were back then and how different they are now, and how he and many other people had turned around and said like, oh, you seem so much happier now. And it just was a step in the direction of making me think, do you know what, maybe I've gone about my content journey a little bit incorrectly, and that's okay. We live and learn from these things. But when I tell you that the big thing for me was later in the day, and I'm gonna scroll into the video here because I want people to see it. Third Strike. I sat down in the arena, I got ready, and I was like, just, you know, didn't really think much of it, but they brought Third Strike back for EVO. And when I tell you that that was the moment where it hit me, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm watching Third Strike at EVO. Now bear in mind, I've been watching EVO since I was 15 years old, so over 20 years. So the whole EVO moment 37, all of that was ingrained in my head as a teenager, and getting to witness EVO with Third Strike live, and I'm gonna like scroll ahead again here to try and find some of the games that were being played, but it was extraordinary. And when the top 4 was there and Hayao as Hugo was playing, it was like an electricity I have never even seen before. And when he cracked out into the split after doing this crazy parry combo, people were calling it EVO moment 38, the whole lot. It was wild, and I was getting my life. And again, I did spend a lot of time at the artist alleys and asking questions, and I did notice that there was a lot of, you know, Final Fantasy merch that was present. So I'm just going to show you this in front of the camera here. But I got these for my pencil case, which are badges for Sage, which is my main job in Final Fantasy XIV. And I was really chuffed with these, and I thought, oh, hold on a minute. Actually, now that I think about it, every time I talk to somebody in the FGC or in the RPG scene, you often find there's a lot of people that cross over, and somebody who likes Final Fantasy will typically like Street Fighter, and somebody who likes Guilty Gear will typically like Persona. And that's a topic that I actually really want to explore further. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you want to hear more about and have me put some research into. Speaking of the Artist Alley, like I said, I wanted to kind of take in as much as I could, talk to other artists who had done this kind of thing before, and the imposter syndrome was kicking in real hard. Like, I'm sitting there like going, I'm not on the level of these people. So basically me sharing my art here is something that I want to make into much more of a distinctive part of my content. But I'm growing at the same rate as everybody else is. If anything, I want people to know that, you know, that if I can do these things, that anybody can. So therefore, this drawing of Akuma, the drawing of Mai that I've done, I also did Tifa while I was away. I did all sorts of things while I was away, and just finding that happy place and honing it into something you can convert into something constructive was something that I took away a lot from the conversations I had from the artists there. So after the Street Fighter 3 finals had all finished and we'd watched the grand finals and the electricity was in the air, I was already at a point where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm here right now. So you can imagine how I felt when day 3 came along and all the big games were starting to hit. So first up we had Grand Blue. So Grand Blue is a game that I take a lot of interest in, and actually one thing that was quite cool that I forgot to mention on the previous day is I went to the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus booth, and some of the Japanese devs were there, and a couple of them actually recognized me because I'd done so much work on Grand Blue Fantasy Relink previously, and they gave me a t-shirt, which was really just one of those cool moments as a content creator where you're like, oh, I've done something here, that's really cool. But watching Grand Blue did inspire me to want to start playing the game again. My issue with Versus Rising is that I can't seem to land on a main. I cannot seem to figure out who it is I want to play. But as you can see in the finals playing above me, watching Aaron Damac playing Belial made me kind of want to play Belial. And if you look at his design and everything, that's a character that's very me-coded and I would really like to explore going forwards. Then of course it was quite cool to be present for one of the trailer showcases, which I've never seen live before at an event like this, with Grand Blue Versus Rising showcasing Versusia, and then Vicala, I think her name's Vicala, and then Season 2 being announced for Versus Rising. Now, Versus Rising already has a pretty huge cast, but even I was pretty hyped when I saw Sandalphon pop up in the trailer. Versusia also looks really cool. Vicala's not really my thing, but I'm sure she's definitely going to have her fan base. But again, just to be present for this kind of trailer is something I've never seen live before, and I'd love to be present at more events going forward like this if I get to see more like it. So then we get to Guilty Gear. Now, Guilty Gear is not a game that I've typically explored an awful lot of because I tend to find the more anime-coded a game becomes, this is true for RPGs as well, the less interested I'm likely to be. Now, there are exceptions to this, of course, like Grand Blue, etc., but generally speaking, I tend to kind of veer away from the more anime-coded games. But being present for the trailer for Season 4 for Grand Blue and then seeing the finals showed me quite how dynamic the game can be. But I didn't get to watch all of it because I needed to go to the bathroom at some point during the Grand Blue finals. And I had to leave the arena in order to do that, which meant I had to see the queues that a lot of people have talked about on their own coverage of EVO. And I went out to go and play somebody who I knew to go and play some Tekken, just go and chill because otherwise we weren't going to see each other for the rest of the weekend. And I went out, and so I came back, and there was this huge queue going back into the arena. Now bear in mind, my friend's in there, my bags are in there, I have a seat already, and I was starting to go, oh god, how am I going to deal with this? What am I going to do? So I went to the security guard and I explained the situation. I said, look, my stuff is in there, my friend's in there, I have a seat already, can you let me back in? The security guard didn't understand me because of my accent, which I thought was hilarious, but after speaking to a couple of different people, they did actually let me back in. And I count myself very lucky for that, actually, because I did not realise quite how long people were going to have to wait in that queue before they were let in. So if there's one criticism I have for EVO and the way it was run this year, it's the fact that they need a bigger arena. Like, you can see just above me, like, how large the arena already was, but there were, like, over 10,000 people at this event. So to not allow everyone to come and sit down to enjoy the games is a little bit of an oversight. But hopefully they live and learn from this, and they learn from this for the next event, and we've seen that there are more events coming. Like, especially in Europe as well. We're getting an EVO in Nice in France, which I cannot wait for, and I will definitely be attending that. But hopefully they've learned that they might have more fans than they think they do. So then we get to Tekken. Now, I love me some Tekken. I'm a Claudio main, by the way. I haven't actually said who I main in every game, but I'll say it as I go across the games. With Tekken, I am a Claudio main, and I will say this one thing. I love watching Tekken. I do not love watching Dragunov. Dragunov is not a particularly interesting character to watch, certainly in a mirror match like you can see here. Nothing against the players, but when you have a character like him who not only is clearly one of the strongest characters in the game, but is also one of the easier ones to play, you start to question, you think, well, why would I play anyone else and make life harder for myself? And so I understand why he's as popular as he is, but I would have liked to have seen a wider variety of characters in the top 6. So there were three Dragunovs, Nina, Jin, and Kazuya. And only Nina, played by Arslan Ash, who is a god at this game, by the way, were able to kind of make it forward. So it was 3 Dragunovs and Nina. But as you can see in the finals playing above me now, the Dragunov players started to switch it up, and this Fong switch was inspired. Really entertaining to watch as well, because Atif actually very nearly made a full comeback at playing as Fong, and I was like, oh, you keeping that in your back pocket, and I'm here for it. So I like watching Tekken, but I don't like watching Dragunov, and that was the takeaway that I had from that. Although there were people coming into the arena at this point who said that they had been waiting for upwards of 3 hours just to be able to get into the arena to watch the likes of Tekken and Street Fighter, and I definitely don't want to see that happen again in the future. So then finally, of course, we get to Street Fighter 6. So this was the game that I was here to watch, and I was very ready for it, especially considering that one of the top 6 was Ending Walker. Now, Ending Walker is an Ed main, as you can see above me here. He is also a 17-year-old young man from London, so I was absolutely elated to see someone representing my home country, especially someone so young, doing so well at this event. I mean, like, going back to this video here, this moment against Momochi, someone who had been playing the game for 20 years, had won EVO previously, and making moments like this that you can see up here, it was wild. And it just seeing this young man progress so fast in his career in fighting games was truly inspiring. He was showing all of us up here. And then, of course, like, we have the grand finals with Punk and Big Bird. Like, it was iconic. What a brilliant EVO to be able to watch. I felt genuinely privileged to be able to say I had attended this event. It was insane. Seeing just these magnificent plays, Tekken 8's first foray into EVO US, seeing America win Street Fighter for the first time in I think 20 years. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. It was just amazing, and the electricity in this crowd, being there and seeing this electricity from the crowd where like every little thing, it was just a community coming together to support people, and it just really just flicked a switch in my head going, this feels like home to me. I used to be very competitive in gaming, very competitive. I've played TCGs competitively and I've been national champion for TCGs in the past. I've never quite gotten that far with fighting games, but I still absolutely love them, and I have done since I was 5 years old. I have Vega from Street Fighter tattooed on my back. Like, and I've told people this and they're like, wait, really? Yeah. As much as people know me for RPGs, fighting games are in my blood. So to be able to witness such a high profile event, and one where the performance of it all was just so high, I felt genuinely privileged to be at this event. I will also say that it was very interesting watching the new 2XKO game that's coming out from Riot, and I spoke to some of the Riot team that were there, and they were very kind. The booth, the way they set it up, they were really accommodating. It was a really solid booth to sort of take part in, and it's not a game that was previously on my radar because I'm not especially attached to the Riot IP. But it would be naive to think that this game wasn't going to be huge just simply because of the characters in it. So I'll definitely be happy to give it a go. But one of the things that really permeated my mind throughout all of EVO, and my trip in America all told actually, was the idea that when I go home, I'm not going to have anybody to play with. And that's something that really frightens me. Online is one thing. Online ranked is another. Like, you don't get the connection, which is what I want from these games, by playing ranked. I'm not looking to be the best player in the world. I'm not looking to win EVO. I mean, it'd be nice, but it's not going to happen, let's be real. I'm looking to be part of the conversation. It's the same as how I felt with RPGs and even the gacha stuff back in the day. I never felt passionately about the gacha stuff, and I'm going to be 100 with this. What I wanted was a point of connection for me to then develop relationships with people, and in some cases that did happen back when I was doing coverage for those kinds of games. But largely I felt that people were only there for one reason and one reason only, which I'll get to later in the video. We're here talking about EVO right now. Did actually spend a lot of time with Fatal Fury City of the Wolves as well, as is something that my friend Juicebox was extremely interested in, and I actually got to sit with him and kind of learn about City of the Wolves from his perspective quite a lot, because I joined him in the queue. He'd be queuing up there, just going back in for more, and it was really lovely just to see someone so passionate about this game that he loves and wanting to take part in it, that I just really resonated with, and I wanted to just take part in myself. So what we would do is we would go and join up in the queue, and when we got into playing the game, which by the Sunday, it was quite a short queue. We were able to get in and play quite often. We'd just sit there and he'd ask me to sort of like jump up and down on the spot so that we could figure out if landing lag was a thing, or whether you could roll into the corner to like avoid being trapped in the corner, or if you jumped over somebody in a corner, would you land on the other side of them? Little things like that were just really inspiring just to sort of take part in, and it made me really want to analyze things that way myself when I got home. So yeah, that was the end of EVO. We had to run out, unfortunately. I didn't get to say bye to a lot of the people I knew from the UK, like some of my friends who were there that we'd met up during the event. We didn't get to say goodbye very easily because we had to rush out in order to get our lift to go back to the hotel. But it was just an extraordinary event. It really was, and I'm genuinely privileged to have been there. And I fully plan on making my way back there next year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate one of my streams every week. And I stream 4 days a week over on Twitch, do RPGs, art. I'm bringing fighting games in, whether people like it or not. And I'm also got Variety Day where I do more of the same thing of one of the other things that we've done, or maybe there's a new game that's interesting that we'd like to try out. So if you're interested in coming to find me on Twitch, then please do follow me on there. And if you want to play fighting games with me, I would be more than happy to do so, because as much as I say online ranked isn't the same as playing in person, Playing online with people is still a really good way for us to connect, even if we aren't near to each other. So if it's something you'd like to join me on this journey with before EVO next year, then I very much encourage you to come and follow me on Twitch. Now, the rest of this video is going to be more of a personal journey for me and how EVO and my trip to America and Vegas affected me and my journey as a content creator. So if that's not something that interests you, then I'll say thank you very much for watching up until this point. And I hope that you've enjoyed what I've seen here and you got a little slice of EVO from someone who was there from the other side of the world. And if you do want to stick around, then thank you very much, because I've got a lot to say and I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to say it. Alright, so for those of you that are still here, let me just be very, very honest for a moment. For the last 5 or 6 months, I would say, as a content creator, I've struggled, and I've struggled quite a lot. I've struggled with the fact that I feel like I'm disappointing to a lot of my audience, that I feel like I'm not being myself to a lot of my audience, that I've been very negative, that I've not delivered. I've been quite inconsistent because I've not known what to say. I feel that I've just not delivered as a content creator for a long time. Certainly one that's trying to be full-time. A lot of my supporters have left, which I understand why. A lot of people have sort of not come to streams or anything, and I totally understand why. But I think that I can now explain, thanks to the time I spent in America, why that is. I think that I had sold myself, the wrong version of myself at the very least, for a very long time as a content creator. And when I say I was never really passionate about Dissidia or any of the things that made me truly successful as a content creator, I hate to say that it's something that I feel is very true, but unfortunately I think that it is. When I started doing full-time content creation, I was going through a very traumatic experience, and I had found something that worked, you know, as a content creator. It's something that allowed me to pay my bills. It's something that allowed me to create a sense of community, even though a lot of that community I don't feel were ever really there for me. They were there for the game and the fact that somebody was doing coverage for that game, and that was made evident by the fact that whenever I streamed or did anything with Dissidia, you'd find that there'd be people that came for 5 minutes, came to watch the pools and then leave. And that was never what I wanted. What I wanted with what I was getting from EVO and from my art connection, which is I want that deeper connection with other players where we have something in common, but we want to develop the relationship further. And that's something that I was just never going to get from a game like a gacha game. And then RPGs as well is something that I have discovered that I definitely still really love my RPGs a lot, but I think I enjoy them quite differently to a lot of people who watch content on RPGs, because I'm not somebody that's focused on the narrative. As somebody who made a video fairly recently about Octopath Traveler and how the most fun I'd had with an RPG in a long time was having skipped every single cutscene in the game, I felt like shame in that I couldn't talk to anybody about it, because I thought, oh, I'm going to be branded as like a heretic or something, because who plays RPGs if they're not playing it for the story? Well, it turns out I do, and I've actually come to realise that I'm not the only one. I can't say I don't, you know, people could call me a fake fan or whatever they want, but equally, video games, particularly RPGs and fighting games and Nintendo, which that's another video I'm going to make later, is something really cool that's happened with Nintendo recently. They've been my creative muse since I was a child. Like, I've drawn video game characters since I was a child. I have listened to music from video games since childhood. I go to Distant Worlds for Final Fantasy every time it turns up. I've been to the Nier concerts numerous times. So no, the narrative isn't what I latch onto most, or the world building and stuff like that. I still want my video games to be video games. And a lot of people want the visual novel aspect of RPGs, and that is totally valid. It's just not something that I feel I can connect with people on. And then I also found that when I was doing guide content for the likes of Grand Blue Relink, I would burn out really hard, because I spent 200 hours on that game, or no, even more than that, trying to get enough footage to do the content that I wanted to do, and it was very successful for me. I got hundreds of thousands of views out of Grand Blue, but I was miserable. It didn't make me happy because it wasn't making the content I wanted to make. I just can't keep my attention on a single video game for that long. And then having done FF7 Rebirth immediately afterwards for another 150, 200 hours, and then discovering I didn't really like it for the same reason other people loved it, something in me just snapped. And the reason that that's relevant to this particular video and going to EVO and going to Vegas is, as I said at the beginning of this video, I once worked in Vegas. Like, I went there working for a board game company and stayed there for an extended period of time. And I, had friends over there. I had like a locals where I'd play fighting games in. This was before I ever became a content creator. And so going to Vegas, staying behind after EVO, connecting with friends who I hadn't seen in some cases in 12 years, and then them taking me to places that I'd been to years ago and not knowing that I'd already been to them, was just a really eye-opening experience and showed me just how far removed I had become from myself, having tried to deal with a traumatic experience through what I felt at the time was a very constructive use in content creation, but have come since to realize that it's not caused me to be fake, because I've never been a fake person, but it's caused me to kind of diverge from the passions that I truly have in thinking that I had to be something I wasn't, and forcing myself down a path that didn't make me happy. So to have the experience to kind of teach me who I am again was so valuable I can't put it into words. This, of course, all combines with the experiences I've had over the past couple of months. I went to TwitchCon in June or early July and had an amazing time there, connecting with friends and showing people my art and the angle that I want to go for in the future, and people really resonating with it. And it also connects with the trip I went to earlier this year to Norway that me and my partner went on, where I started rediscovering drawing again and realising quite how important that was to me. And I thought, this is the stuff I genuinely care about. This is what I want to share with the world. It's not what I've been trying to force myself to do for the longest time. I still want to continue to talk about RPGs, but I want to talk about them and the evergreen aspects of them, like the art, the music, the design, the gameplay, things that really resonate with me as a person, that I'm sure I can't be the only person. But also fighting games, also Nintendo products. There's a ton of games that have these magnificent design choices that don't involve me having to, and I'll say this in a jovial way, but I mean it, like, I don't want to sit there and analyse whether Aerith's left nose hair is out of place, which will signify something that's going to happen in part 3 of FF7 Remake Trilogy. Because being honest with you, I just don't care. And I'll be 100% real with you. I'm broke because of the experiences that I've had. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, but Joe, you've just talked about these amazing trips that you've been on. Yeah, I have. But I've spent my last dime going to EVO. And I literally went broke going there. And I don't regret it for a second. Because I think that money is something that you can regain over time. But returning to yourself is an invaluable experience that I don't think that many people get to experience in the same way. And so I consider myself extremely lucky to be able to do that in a way that I just was not expecting. So if anything, I suppose the lesson that I want to sort of teach other people in this video, from speaking after obviously talking about how amazing EVO was, is it's all well and good wanting to kind of be well known, wanting to sort of reach out into an audience and gain a sense of self from what you're doing online, but you want to make sure that you're doing it being your most authentic self. And that's not something that I've been doing. And I think that I learnt the hard way what it's like for everyone to talk to you about something that you don't feel passionate about. And then when you talk about things you are passionate about, not being able to connect with other people, being yourself. Like, I'll be honest, I have a Discord server with quite a lot of people in it, which I would encourage you to join, by the way. It's all linked down below. I sat there and I was gushing about how excited I was about EVO and the fact that I was there and the fact that I was so privileged to be there, etc, 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 crying every day, happy tears, all of it. Next to nobody responded about any of it, and it made me just realise how far removed from my audience I actually was, and It was a very humbling and eye-opening experience, but one that I am allowing myself to learn from and to want to start again, but being my most authentic self. So I shan't bore you and keep you any longer unless you want to talk to me more about either my journey or you have questions about EVO, my time in Vegas from back when I used to be there a lot. It's all something I'd be more than happy to chat to you about, whether you want to come and join me on Twitch, whether you want to come and find me on Discord, my Twitter page, anything. I just love talking to people. That is what I truly care about being a content creator, is connecting with others. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to come and talk to me or come and play fighting games with me or play FF14 together or any of those things, then I'd love to hear from you. And you can find all my social links down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but I am very much in the process of a rebirth of sorts where I feel passionate about content creation again. I have a voice again. I have things that I want to say. And it took me a long time to get back to this point. And because I'm here now, I'm really excited about the future. So thank you all very much for watching. I've got tons of things coming up. I'm going to be reworking my Patreon, like pretty heavily, because I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the people that you've seen on my Patreon in previous videos actually aren't there anymore, and I've been too scared to look at it because obviously it's a scary thing to do. But I'm going to go through it and we're going to start again. And if you want to join me on that journey, I would be privileged to share that with you. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.